I want to go back to 1991. You are in a gym and you end up meeting some wrestlers, and that's how you end up going down to WCW. What happened when you met them?
Well, I was wanting to know how to get into the business, and it was a guy named Robbie Idol, Bob Cook, and Rick Ryder were the three guys that used to train at this gym called the Waiting Room in Venice, Florida. I said, "What do you got to do to get into this business?" Because they were the guys that were enhancement guys that got beat up on television, and they said, "Well, you got to go to wrestling school." And I was living in Venice, Florida, and there was a wrestling school in Tampa. Boris Malenko, who was the father of Joe and Dean Malenko. So I started going there after work and on weekends, and it just changed my life. So then I asked these guys, I started learning how to wrestle. I only had like a couple independent matches, and it was against Robbie Idol, the guys from the gym, the local shows they were doing. And I said, well, how do you get to WCW? And they go, well, if you come down with us, it's about a 9-hour drive, and every once a month on Monday or twice a month on Mondays, they have center stage tapings. And I said, I'd love to go. So meanwhile, we drove the 9 hours to Atlanta, Georgia for center stage wrestling tapings. And they chose me. And my first time, it was against Doom. I mean, Ron Simmons and Butch Reed, world tag team champions. My first match. And I'm tagged with another enhancement guy. And the match doesn't go quite the way it was planned. And they were very upset with me. And I don't know if we want to tell that story or...
Yeah, because you thought that when you lost the match that you needed to get out of there.
Yeah, once they pin me, they put you on their shoulders, and then they come off the top rope and clothesline you, and they pin you. And so I was thinking, this is for television. I better kind of get out of the ring. So I started getting up a little too soon. So Ron Simmons started headbutting me out of the ring. And I didn't even realize, so I just left the ring. And then I go into there's two dressing rooms. There was the enhancement dressing room, the jobbers, I guess. And then there was a superstar dressing room, Sting, Ric Flair, the Road Warriors, all the guys are in that dressing room. And it's customary for them to come over to our dressing room and thank us for the match after. And so I'm in the dressing room and I hear Butch Reed, that, and I'm like, damn, what happened to him? And all of a sudden he kicks the door open and he goes, "You motherfucker." He goes, "You don't even know how to work. When we pin you, you stay down. You do not move, dumbass." And I'm like, oh man. And right away I'm like, I am so sorry. My first time there, I go, I apologize, man. I just thought I had to get out of the ring. And he goes, "You're a dumbass." And he just kept going on and on and on. And there's something that happens, I don't care who we are, but you snap. And I just go, "Hey, you." And we square off. And Sid Vicious steps in between us. And he goes, "Hey, Butch, he's a good guy, man. Come on, don't fight here." And so he leaves, and Sid says to me, I didn't really know Sid. He just, for some reason, he took a liking to me. Maybe it's because I stood up to Butch Reed. I don't know. But I wrestled him the next time I came. Anyways, after the match, they said, "Dusty needs to see you right away." And I'm like, oh, damn. I'm never coming back here, I'm going to embarrass my friends. And I walk they had like a makeshift shift office for Dusty at center stage. I walk into his office and I go, "Hey, Dusty, I am really sorry. I thought that." And he goes, "Oh, I don't give a damn about that match." He goes, "Kid, anybody ever tell you look like Little Richard?" And I go, "Little Richard?" I thought he was talking about a wrestler. So I said, "I never heard of Little Richard." He goes, "You don't know Little Richard? I go, "No." I go, "Oh, the singer Little Richard." I go, "Yeah, no one ever told me that." He goes, "Oh, I think I got a gimmick for you." And I'm like, damn, I'm thinking my life is going to change, But I still continue to come up for the tapings and just be an enhancement guy. I mean, I did it maybe 3 times, maybe 4 times, I think. And then Dusty says, "I got to take you off TV because we want to put this gimmick on you." And that's how I became, well, before I tell you that, I got to share this with you. And he says, and let me tell you, I envisioned this character look like Little Richard, and his name is gonna be Precious. I said, Precious? And I said, oh, okay. I'm thinking, damn, that's a horrible name for a wrestler, you know? So that night I went home and I started thinking about Little Richard's era, you know? And there was a song back then, I think it was Chuck Berry, Johnny Be Good. And I thought, and Diamond Dallas Page was doing the, the Freebirds, B-A-double-D, you know? So Dallas was a good one of my closest friends. And I said, hey, bro, can I use that bad, B-A-D-D? And I thought, Johnny Be Bad. They're going to make me a heel, you know? So I see Dusty the next TV taping. And I said, hey, Dusty, you know, I know you like that name, Precious, but I was thinking of another name. And I just want to run it by you. And he goes, well, what is it? I go, what do you think of Johnny Be Bad? And bad is B-A-double-D. And he goes, I like it. I go, thank you, Lord.
And then you become Johnny Be Bad. It's a big success in WCW. But something that people might not know is that you, in 1992, you had a back injury. You went to see a doctor, and the doctor said you should retire from wrestling. You don't tell WCW. I mean, what's going through your mind as that's all happening?
You know, I have a grade 3 spondylolisthesis on my back. It's really bad. And my back was just killing me on the road. It was just hurting so badly. And when I first got there, I didn't want to take a lot of pain medication, you know, but that slowly changed after a while. And that's why a lot of wrestlers got hooked on it, because you're beat up every night. So I went to the doctor. They do x-rays. And he comes in with the x-ray, puts it up on the thing, and he says, today you are officially retired. And I just signed my contract not too long ago. And I said, retired? He goes, yeah, we got to you can see right here, we got to put a titanium rod in your back, and you will not be able to wrestle. And I said, wow, okay. And he goes, I want you to call the office and we're to schedule surgery. And I left. I never told a soul. I never called. And I got this, anyone that sees my back sees the bone sticking out of my back. I never had it fixed. But guys, I did so much ab work and core work to keep my core strong. And I always had great abs because I worked so hard to keep my back. But I never told anybody. The only people I told were other wrestlers. I said, because you know when they throw a guy off the ropes, you hit him with a flipper on the back or something like that. I would tell them, do not hit me in the back. You know, whoever wrestler, I go, yeah, I got a bad back. Don't hit me in the back. But I never told nobody that the doctors want me to retire. And I ended up wrestling all those years with the back, and still the same way now. And I still have back issues.
And I mean, at that time as well, you are going down to the power plant quite a lot with DDP. You guys are working out there. What was it like being down at the power plant, being there with DDP, and you guys just trying to get better and better?
We were in the most incredible shape. Some of you guys might have heard of Sarge. You've heard of Sarge? He would put people through the new people that come in. You know, pro football players would come in. They want to be wrestlers. And he would put them through the most amazing calisthenics. But Dallas and I would join them. Dallas and I were in such phenomenal shape. We do 500 Hindu squats, you know, all the things, and be able to get in the ring and still wrestle. And we'd watch these big football players or these tough athletes from all different sports throwing up, basically couldn't even walk. But Sarge would push them so hard, and they would leave. They never come back. But Dallas and I really wanted to get better. You know, Dallas was, you know, I started wrestling. I signed my first contract. I was 31 years old. And Dallas signed his first contract. He was 35 years old, you know. And it was so funny because we were parallel in so many incidents, like winning Rookie of the Year. And I think he was like runner-up in Rookie of the Year. Then I was Most Improved Wrestler, and he became Most Improved Wrestler. And we were really excelling going down to the power plant. And we wanted to have better matches. And we did. We eventually learned how to wrestle.
And then around this time, WCW bring in Bill Watts as the new head of creative, and he changes everything, doesn't want guys to do anything. What was it like working under Bill Watts, and can you tell people why you used to avoid him?
Well, first of all, I want to say to Eric Watts, who's a good friend of mine, I'm sorry, buddy, but I got to tell the truth. Okay. When Bill Watts came in, he had all these new rules. No more mats on the floor. No more coming off the top rope. And he's cutting every guaranteed contract salaries in half. And I just signed, it was my second year, and I just got my big, the first year, we get 75,000, the second year, you get 150,000. And so I just got the first kind of a big salary, and Bill Watts, we come out of his office, he'd start walking in the hall, and I just dodge into a bathroom, an open door. I'd hide behind a wall, I'd hide behind a door, because I knew he wanted to talk to me about my contract. And everybody he talked to, he would say, we got to cut your contract in half, but he has to do it, he does it in person. So he would say, hey, he'd tell one of the agents, tell Johnny it'd be bad that he needs to see Bill Watts. And I would just say, okay, I'll go to his office, and I would never go. And eventually, Bill Watts didn't last too long, and I said, thank you, Lord. But because I gambled with his son so much, his son made up for the money that Bill Watts lost. Son of a gun.
How tough was it for you when he's putting all these new rules in? Because you were a high-flying wrestler.
Yeah.
How do you adapt to the fact that he's kind of taken away stuff that's going to, make your matches better?
Well, like I said, luckily he wasn't there too long, but it was just uncomfortable that you couldn't, at the time I was doing like a crazy sunset flip off the top rope, and I really try to air it out too, really try to make it one of the best ones out there. And as I learned more and more stuff, I like to throw in some top rope stuff or do planches over the top onto the floor. But now there's no more pads there, and it's hard enough trying to catch a guy and landing on pads as opposed to landing on cement. So we couldn't do that no more. So he did take away a lot of my arsenal, but also we learned how to mat wrestle a lot more too. And that's when Dale and I would go down the power plant, we do a lot of chain wrestling and working on things in the ring that really helped us. So in a way, it was really good for us for a while. But once he left, man, back to that top rope.